as time moves us forward, we start putting the pieces of our lives together, the relationships that we form with other people, with our family, the outside world in general. Most importantly, your inside, your subconscious, right? And so as I peel back the layers to my life, we're all, as human beings, very complex people. We can be very simple on the outer, on the external, as we appear to be most days in front of the universe. But as people get to know you and you spend more time with them, and in particular your intimate relationships, whether it's romantically, emotionally, however that bonds you, whatever bonds you to that other person, at some point they'll start getting to know you at a human level, right? So you have to, and at that point you start trying to figure out the pieces as to why you're connected as such, or why there is no connection. You understand? So I actually wrote this down on my hand so I don't forget. No particular order. The 4 attachment styles, particularly in the romantic sphere or that connectivity space, is secure, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. I would have totally screwed that up. I wouldn't have remembered it because I've been dying to talk about this topic and I'm still struggling to find a flow. It'll come with the walking. Walking unlocks everything, even my thoughts. And I wanted to cover this topic for quite some time. I just didn't have the words for it. I didn't have the courage for it. Now I just don't care. My personal attachment style, I figured out exactly what it is, and it's the anxious attachment style. Personally, I find it the most annoying, not to just myself, but I can actually put myself in the other person's shoes, and I've gotten that by way of feedback in terms of how they behave and how they pull back. Now, if I was to narrow this down, this is going to my romantic relationships and all my girlfriends that I've had in the past, and even my most current one that I just broke up with a few weeks ago. You know, it's one thing to be battling with anxiety, generalized anxiety, which I battle with, and I talk about it very openly on this channel. In fact, one of my videos I did about stop Googling your anxiety symptoms did really well for my standards. It was my mini virality moment last year. You can check that out. And if you already have anxiety and those, generalized disorder, whether it be through life or circumstances, you may be just a very anxious person, but I can assure you, and I'm not a doctor, not a psychologist, it's not by design. I think that's personally for me, some people are just worrisome, like there's a degree to it, but there are some people quite over the top. And I found myself in my younger years very over the top in terms of, thinking the worst case scenario, panicking, always looking at the negatives versus the 99 positives and focusing on the 1% chance that it's not going to work out with anything here. But when it came to getting intimate with my girlfriends and all my romantic girlfriends in the past, this one trait has followed me even late in life. And while I have a better control of that emotion, and now I can actually intercept it when I find myself anxiously getting attached to someone or a new love or new connection or date, I actually can step in and say, we're not going to do this again. We've been down this road, buddy, and you know how this ends for you. And you know what's going to happen is they're going to push you away, and you're going to wonder what went wrong. And what's worse is that you will beat yourself up to the bone as to why you're not good enough. See, the problem is there's nothing wrong with you, man. Right now, I'm talking to the boys, my brothers, my young men that's struggling with this, right? There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with us. My conclusion and what I have packaged up for this video is that this 100% has to do with your childhood. This 100% has to do with your childhood and all those things that you were deprived of during your, innocent years per se, whether you were a toddler or a kid, subconscious memory, right? Between the ages of 2 and 6, a lot of things are subconsciously ingrained in those early years in life. And I know for a fact that I had a very turmoil childhood, very turmoil childhood. I talk about domestic violence, that I was in the middle of it as a grown man, and I was exposed to that, and I let myself, um, honestly, taking the heat for someone else's mess. Basically, my ex-girlfriend put hands on me, and I allowed this to happen for a while is because I thought it was normal. And now if I tie that back to my childhood, I don't hide the fact that I had a very, very toxic relationship with my mother, and I didn't put two and two together until later in life. Like, I'm talking about the last 3, 4 years, but prior to those 3, 4 years, I knew something wasn't right, and I was searching deep, 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 deep down inside my subconscious mind, my emotions, my inner spirit. I did a lot of healing per se. You're never completely healed, but once you put the pieces to the puzzle together and you finally have a round circle to your story, and you can keep spinning on that, but I'm not spinning anymore, but I'm able to connect the dots. I've been able to go 360 and figure out that, okay, now I can see the trail of dust in the pile behind me, left behind, why I am the way I am. And a lot of the gaslighting, the narcissism that I experienced as a kid by way of my biological mother, it makes very much sense as to why I became the person I am, and I was, and I continue to evolve over time, and having the courage to even talk about this. And I know there's a lot of young men. This doesn't even have to do with how old you are. Some people just never grow out of this anxious attachment style. See, the thing is that you have to, one, acknowledge that you have this anxious attachment style. And then two, I think when you're getting close to people, it doesn't even have to be romantically involved either. You just have to let them know very early on up front that this is going to be the type of behavior to expect. Like, be very open about it, right? And I know it's something people don't like to talk about, but I think it can save you a lot of pain as your relationship with your significant other progresses. And I think, like, let's really lock this in. It does come down to your romantic partners because you spend a lot of time with them, right? So you have to, I'm getting flashbacks of some of the things that I've just, like, totally makes sense as I'm telling my story. I'm getting flashbacks of all the mistakes, and I can beat myself for it, but now it makes sense as to why I was texting more, right? I was very emotional on certain things, and I would look into little stories and look for a higher meaning in a lot of the arguments and the disagreements, and with my girlfriends, right? And then I would see how they're so nonchalant about it and so detached from any outcome or any validation that they needed. I was the one actually that needed more validation, and this is not to do with compliments on how you look. This is to do with deeper level, right? And you would sort of feel this interior wound, like something happening to you inside when your emotional needs were not fulfilled. And the thing about the situation is when you don't know what this is, and you can't put a finger on it, and you continue projecting onto your loved one, to that special someone that you have in your life, because it can trickle down to your brothers, your sisters, and even your own parents, right? You can provide them the feedback loop subconsciously, but a lot of times this shows up by way of your intimate relationships. At least that's what I have faced in my personal life. So if you think about how hard you're projecting onto that person, energy, you can feel energy. Energy sometimes cannot be described. That's why they call it a vibe, right? And there's sometimes, like, when people enter the room, right, whether you're in a business meeting, a church event, social event, intimate event, right? There's an energy about that. You can almost sense it, right? The sixth sense, right? So the same thing goes with these kinds of two-way partnership or relationship with your, significant other, is they can eventually smell it. They will eventually know it. And what you don't want yourself to be in a position of weakness in this sense. It's not weakness if you talk about it and just see how your significant other responds to it over time. But it can be essentially setting yourself up, if you don't control this and acknowledge it, is there's a lot of games that are being played, right, in the dating space, right? There's a lot of mind games about delaying your text messages or not responding for days, and not responding after 2-3 days after your first date, and then you text 8 hours later, leaves you on unread, DMs and whatnot. I'll get into another topic for another video about having your options and being abundant, like having just more than one girl in your rotation, because they have more than one option, 100%. Even though they're committed with you, they always have the options open. I'm digressing again, but coming back to this point here is that it can really set you up for a deep fall and decline, especially during a breakup, because sometimes overly projecting and being so towering with your anxious attachment style can really push people away. Let me slow down here. This is the magic moment of where I realized why all these things were happening to me for the reasons they were. So getting the girl for me was not really the issue. It's my approach. It's my style. It's in a way, sometimes I was overly aggressive, like without even being aggressive, I was coming on too strong maybe. And I was overselling myself because I didn't need to sell myself. It was already like, I was always in that frame of being accepted because I was enough. And of course, externally, I put in the work. I may look a certain way, right? I may look easier on the eyes for the opposite sex. But when it came to actually matching it up to the character they may have had in mind, I fell short is because of my insecurities. Is because, I may have, a physique and all of this, right? Where I wear a suit, no matter how GQ, the type of dress, GQ attire, or the type of car I wear, dress shoes, or you can butter it up and package yourself up to the T. But see, your subconscious, your inner self will show its card eventually because you haven't dealt with it. In fact, it's something that you're running away from. And I was running away from my own inner voice in the sense that I abandoned my own ship instead of dealing with it. And so when you have that out-of-body experience where you abandon yourself and you jump ship and you pretend to take forms and fit into frames that other people may think, it's really you. It's what they're telling you is not really them. They're showing you who you are. You understand? Is they showing you who you are through subconsciously giving you what you're giving them. So you're teaching them how to behave. If you show up with a subservient approach to that romantic relationship, you're one, killing the vibe, the sexual chemistry, and the emotional attachment. You're already establishing you're giving them an upper hand. You're already telling them that I'm not enough. Like you, and this is what's killing you. This is what's killing your game. This is what's killing your progress. So you could be in self-improvement and doing all this great work, but at some point, these things will pay off. You'll get your dates, but if you really like someone and you want to keep them around, this anxious attachment style needs to be controlled and tapered and tamed. It never fully goes away. You just have to understand why you are the way you are. And for me, clearly, this goes back to my childhood, as I was explaining, not to beat that drum and repeat it. But I also noticed that consequently, check this out, is I was attracting those exact type of women and girls in my life who had a lot of the traits of my mother, like spot on to the T. And I also realized that my father was quite the same way. Like, if you were made to feel you were never enough and you were always compared to other kids of being better and superior than you, even though I kicked a lot of their asses anyway, once I found my strength and athletically I found my gifts, I was always winning. I put in the work for it. But my mother would, put them on a pedestal and admire those boys growing up and compare me in front of them, in front of their parents, at how much I sucked, right? Whereas my father, he would try to build us up for as long as he had his health. Once he got Parkinson's, big story on that on this channel as well. You can check that out. Just type in Parkinson's. But as he started declining, she just stepped on that pedal foot on the pedal and destroyed the kids in that sense, right? And I think I was affected the most out of all of this is because once I realized what she was bringing out of me, even at an older age, and I failed to put the pieces together until a lot late in life, I had to cut that relationship off. And I know that this is not well received by the masses and the general population, folks, but if you think for yourself, whether you're a man or a woman, if you think for yourself, you will do what's best for yourself once you find your answers and you're able to put the pieces to your puzzle and life together, because your spirit, there's only one of you. There's only one of you, and you don't have to be liked by everyone. You don't have to be accepted by the masses in the world and everyone you meet on the streets. You have to be okay with not being accepted, man. You have to be okay with not being liked by everyone. You have to be okay with your frame, even if that makes someone uncomfortable. And I don't mean confrontational. They are two different things. You can politely disagree and keep a distance. See, connection doesn't require physically, you don't have to be physical to have a connection with someone. And to make a point, you don't even have to be connected to the person, because whatever you're feeling, whatever decision you're making is based on your intuition, based on who you are. It's based on your experiences, regardless of what they think of your decision. And provided you're not harming anyone, like within reasonable means and a fairly good social read of a situation, it doesn't matter what they think. And I've faced this quite a bit. I've had to dim my own very light based on the fear of, oh my God, what will they think? So I'm so focused on the external validation and the outcome and the attachment that goes with it externally versus really allowing myself to shine. Because the way you can beat this, in my opinion, is keep practicing to be in situations that are socially, I wouldn't say challenging, but in a way, yeah, it's kind of challenging, but it's actually fun if you put yourself in situations where you have to be yourself. And I'll do some follow-up videos real soon here, talking about some personal life stories as of recently, like as of today, an update where I've had to be myself versus dimming myself down, allowing myself to shine at a time where not a lot of people would. And speaking up, really, that's what it comes down to. So this is, for me, a synopsis of my anxious attachment style. It can be very annoying to me as well. It's a lot of weight that you carry on your shoulders. Like, you have to learn to let things go. It's not that serious. It's serious, but it's not that serious. Like, that text message can be met with the same energy and effort. Like, you don't have to match that energy all the time. You have to ask yourself, why? Why are you in such a hurry of getting a response right away? If she takes 4 hours to text back, you take 5 hours to text back. If she takes 3 days to text back, you don't have to text back. But if you must text back, then you text back 4 days, 5 days later. You see what I mean? Like, you have to match the energy. Even though at the height of the moment you want to do all that wobbly stuff, right, that compromises your spirit and your judgment, your intuition, don't do it. Don't do it. Like, that is the perfect opportunity to, man, this is powerful. That is the perfect opportunity to intervene and stop yourself right there. That's the awkward social situation measuring stick right there. Because a lot of us do this all the time. It's like we want the response. We want that dopamine. We want the validation. We're so attached to the text that you just sent, right? And then you make it worse by double texting. Again, topic for another video. You don't want to do all that, right? You're enough. Your one DM, your one outreach is perfectly fine. And you know what? If you don't get that response back, that's not a reflection on you. Think about what the other person could be dealing with too, right? I'm not trying to be a nice guy. I'm trying to be fair. Because at the end of the day, to wrap this video up, whatever we're projecting onto our romantic interest and no matter how pretty she is, at the end of the day, just remember, she's still very much human being. We all bleed. We all have biological functions. We all defecate. We have to go to the bathroom. We all bleed, right? We're nothing special in that sense. And once you're able to see people in that light, the human factor, that Okay, I'm just talking to a human being after all. You know, that saying, be yourself, is really true. But to be yourself, you have to put in the work. And to be yourself requires sometimes a lot of courage. To be yourself requires detaching from the attachment, the anxious attachment style. It takes work like this. Even for me, now I can talk freely. You see how I've stepped out. Like, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. My anxiety sometimes, like, I get choked up, like I can't talk, like I even sometimes can't even find the voice to project it. Sometimes, like, it gets shaky, and quivering in the voice. Like, so, all you anxiety sufferers out there, talk to me, speak to me. It's normal, man. We're all normal. We're all fighting a battle. We're all searching for answers, and we're all hiding it really well. This is what I don't want this channel to be. Is I don't want to hide anything. Like, what you see is what you get. And if you can see this guy who's not scared and no fear to be himself, I'm doing you all a service and myself, because this is therapy for me. There's no one here watching me. But, you know, talking in front of the camera like this also took quite some time to get this comfortable. Finding the next sentence and what I'm going to say to add more value to this video takes something special to happen in my personal life to even get to this point, right? I'm not anxiously attached to this video that is going to get millions and millions of views. See, if you look at all my videos, it's not like knocking it out of the park. It's getting 20 something views, 30 something views. So a couple of them have a couple of hundred views, right? I'm okay with that for now. I'm still trying to find the tribe. I'm still trying to fight my own battles, man. When that camera turns off, I have to deal with all of this. I have to deal and remind myself, hey, dude, chill out. Easy on the anxious attachment style there. You're projecting too hard, buddy. Dial it back. Come on now, dial it back. It's all right. She ain't going anywhere. The worst that can happen, she goes to another dude. It's not the end of the world, man. Just relax. Just remember, you're pushing them away the more you project. You have to look inward to resolve this problem. And a lot of times when you're looking inward, this goes back to your childhood. Okay? I could keep going on and on and on and share so many stories about this anxious attachment style. Maybe I can compartmentalize this into a part 2, part 3, and tell you some more stories about this. But if you have an anxious attachment style, I'd love to hear from you, okay? And take care of yourself. Keep walking. Mamba out.